Hold on, I'm trying to go public real quick. All right. At this point, man, where do I even start? At this point, where do I start? That's it. This was a typical Falcon game, a typical Falcon loss. It's to a point where this is starting to become this. We're all used to it. 17-0 lead at halftime. They scored 31 points. 31 points in the second half. The sad part about it is it's not even so much that we lost the game because I picked us to lose in the pregame. It's the fact you are competing in these games and you're losing yet another football game. This is the fourth blown lead of this season alone. Like it's to a point where they're gonna get a field goal out of this to make it 34-27, but it doesn't really matter because kick a field goal is 34-27 with probably less than 30 seconds remaining. Sad part about it is first half, Falcons led 17-0, played very, very well. But there's two halves in the game. This game was a microcosm of why Dan Quinn got fired. This game was a microcosm of why the Falcons are 4-10. It's not final yet, but it will be. This game is at a point where you cannot continue. It happens so much, you got to blow the whole culture up. Let's see. Kenny said, blow the whole team up, bro. I totally agree with you 100%. I've been saying it for weeks to blow this whole team up because at this point, this is happening way too much. It's comical that it happens every single week. It happens every single week at this point. And it's nothing to really even say at that point. It's comical at this point that this football team has lost their fourth double-digit lead this season. That's embarrassing. It's the fact, like I said, it will be a solely different situation if the Falcons were. I'm checking the. They're checking the market. It doesn't even really matter at this point. But it will be different if the Falcons were just that bad of a football team. You're losing games you have no business losing. Double-digit leads at that. At this point, I'm ready for next week to be over. I'm ready for the Tampa game in week 17 because it's time to blow this thing all the way up. This culture has to change. I talked about it in the pregame that the Falcons did we feel like the Falcons had an opportunity to go ahead and be what am I trying to say? Basically, I felt like they said that Raheem Morris deserved another opportunity after this season. He doesn't because two games have been blown under your watch, maybe even three considering the Chargers game last week. It gets to a point where this happens so much it's comical. Let's see what else was said. D said, "How in the heck, bro? I don't know. I don't know. It happens just that frequently at this point. I don't know. It's not even a surprise to us Falcon fans because you can't even get to a point where you're excited to see your team with a lead because we're so familiar with the team blowing the game. It's just that bad at this point. Okay, Stinson said we should be 7-7. We should be better than 7-7. To be honest with you, 7-7 is we should really at minimum be 8-6. But good teams win those games. Bad teams don't. The Falcons are doing dumb things. It comes down from the play calling change. There's no adjustments being made after half. This team played an outstanding 30 minutes. Played an outstanding 30 minutes. But then you get to a point where this happens every single week. It's nothing to really explain at this point. You got to just get rid of this squad. And it's sad because I know a lot of things are gonna look bad. Matt Ryan had an outstanding day. However, we're walking away with a loss. It's just that embarrassing at this point. I don't even know what to say with this team at this point. This team needs a total overhaul at this point. And it starts in the top. You got to blow the coaching staff up. You got to blow the front office up. You got to. At this point, it's bigger than the players. Coaching is awful. It happens too often. Happens way too often. One time, okay. 2 times, all right. This is the 4th time in 2020 that we have blown a lead. Hedrick Dixon said that it's not going to happen to these coaches. I agree. That's why I'm saying blow the whole thing up. Nobody should stay on this coaching staff after 2020. And if anybody's on the team after 2020, I'm going to have an issue with Arthur Blank. I already have an issue with him at this point, but it's going to be a bigger problem with Arthur Blank if you bring back anybody in this coaching staff. I don't care what we've seen. And I was talking about it in the first half. The defense was playing better. But at the end of the day, you come out and don't make an adjustment. You give up 31 points. The defense hadn't given up 30 points in maybe a month or so. And you come out and you look like this against Tampa. I'm not taking anything away from Tampa Bay as a football team. But let's see. Said it's reasonably be better, but coaching comes into factor. Yeah, we want to blow the team, but we can't escape from bad contract. That is true. But that's something that we have to deal with. That's something that is a problem that you got to start somewhere. Because it is true. Coaching is part of the factor with this team. It is true at this point. The coaching is part of the issue. But at the end of the day, you got to start somewhere. You can't go into you cannot go into this situation saying the Falcons don't need to blow it up yet because of the fact that we have bad contracts. Bad contracts don't change the situation at hand. Bad contracts don't change the fact that our star receiver is not playing right now. Bad contracts don't change the fact that we have a quarterback who has a big contract that's going to be on the team 2 more years that majority of the fans want to get rid of. Bad contracts don't change that. But you got to start somewhere. At the end of the day, we're not saying, when I'm saying blow the team up, I'm not talking about you can blow it up in one offseason. It's not bad. But you got to start. Antonio Pope said they've been blowing leads since Matt Ryan got there. You ain't been a Falcon fan long enough, have you? Because the Falcons been blowing leads well before Matt Ryan. You can go back in our history. The Falcons blowing leads, say, back in the 80s. The Falcons just start blowing leads. They've been blowing bigger leads in this era, probably so, or in bigger games, but Falcons been blowing leads for a very long time. Next thing is you got to take risks. You never get nowhere and not taking risks. I totally agree with that, Kenny. At this point, the Falcons are so content with being complacent with this team. You got to blow it up. I agree. You got to take risk at some point. But the problem is, if you stay content for so long, it's never going to change. And the problem is, the thing is, this will be the 3rd head coach that we would lose. This will be the 3rd head coach that we would lose within the last, within the last 6 to 7 years. But you still got to work on blowing this roster up at this point. Let's see. Stinson said, I honestly can say give 40% of this team another year. We got the talent and schemes, but we do have a winnable squad if utilized right. I do agree with that as well. I do agree. I'm not saying it's not going to be a 1-year thing at this point. It's not going to be a 1-year thing at this point, but you got to start somewhere. I'm not saying that it's going to happen next season. I'm saying that at some point, something got to change. The culture got to change. You cannot continue to watch this happen week in and week out and week in and week out and week in and week out. It's happening too often at this point. That's embarrassing. Trey says you smart as I want you to explain to me what do you mean by that? I want you to explain to me other than what's really going on in the situation. Because the only thing that I'm basically addressing is that we do have bad contracts on this team. That is definitely not that's not false. We do have bad contracts on this team. Let me see. I haven't watched in a few weeks, but sometimes it's like our offense is too explosive, meaning we get huge chunks of our yardage, but only take 30 seconds off the clock. We lose time possession battles, leaving the defense on the field most of the time in the game. We stretch the defense vertically, but can't get 4 to 5 yards to eat a clock. I think one of the hardest problems with that is we don't really have we don't have a running game at this point. We got the skill set in the air. We don't have a running game that can slow it down. We don't have a running game that can truly sit here and make a move for us. Matter of fact, while I'm sitting here talking, let me see what the rushing stats were today, so I can just kind of get a better idea of where I'm going with this, because we do have a back. That's another thing. Give me 1 second. The Falcons ran for a total of 37 yards today. We threw for 332. We're not balanced. So that's going to always get us in trouble. When we get, like you said, we have the passing attack that can score quick. But when you don't really have a consistent running game, you find yourself in these situations. We've lost a lot of leagues that way. Definitely lost a lot of leagues that way. You were saying start somewhere like what? What exactly are you saying? At this point, what I'm saying is you got to start step by step. I'm not saying throw everybody away after one season, but there are guys on this team that can be replaced. That's where I'm going with this. We got our star guys getting older, and then I look at it like this: we have a coaching staff that at this point we got to deal with another coaching staff at this point. We got a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't care what anyone says about that. Matt's going to go to the Hall of Fame at some point when he retires. But we're going to have to go through another coaching change, another offensive scheme. Julio's getting older. We got so many things that we got to change. And I don't want to sit here and see us continue to go through another coach, another rebuild. To me, Matt's not old enough to where I'm saying he's done. But at the end of the day, you don't want to keep having a 35, 36-year-old quarterback having to go through another situation where you're having to reset again. That starts to become draining to even him as a quarterback. Stinson said, think about this, keep Matt Ryan with different coaching. I understand that as well. But the problem is, you got another problem. You have another scheme you're changing. One thing that we know about Matt in his time here, it takes a year for this offense to really click. It takes a year for this offense to really click. You don't want to keep doing this over and over and over again, where you're having to give him another offense where you got to be 37-38, trying to figure out another scheme and trying to be. The problem is, it's been. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at other comments while I'm sitting here talking. But the problem is, you're getting older, and where everything was relied on him at one point in time, you can't do that anymore. It got to be a change at some point. Let's see. I'm catching up with your comments. Guys. Let's see. I'm sorry, Nate. Repeat the running game problem again. How many times have I explained that the running game will be the problem after the draft? They made a mistake not drafting, signing, or trading a running back. That's been an issue under Dirk Cutter overall. Because to be honest with you, the Falcons haven't had a good running game since Super Bowl season. We were okay in 17, but we just abandoned running the ball the last 3 years. We haven't had a good running game in a couple of seasons. And we've even all discussed, even with Cutter, Cutter has no creativity with this rushing attack. That's why we're always at the bottom of the barrel and running the ball every single year. Okay, let me catch up to what some more comments were being said. What about Tom Brady? He's old. I'm not putting Matt and Tom Brady in the same conversation ever. Tom has 6 rings. He was in a same system with the same head coach from 2001 to 2020. That has not changed. We have had Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, and now gonna have another head coach. We have no consistency in this offensive attack. It's not the same. I can't put that. But let me see. Julian said I'll just be his biggest fan. Like I'll scroll mid up behind him. Now like a fool. I think at this point, man, he's not immune from blame. I'm coming on him not saying that he's immune from blame at this point of his career either. I just feel like it could be time for a full culture change. And it could end up resulting in him as well. Julian also said the run design is horrible. Yes, it is. We don't have any type of creativity with the rushing attack. That's where the problem comes into play. Let's see, Don Terry said, I hate to say it, I've been saying this for the longest time, but the Falcons organization are stuck at them making the Super Bowl, and they're good with that. They're trying to relive 2016, and they are failing at making changes. That is a absolutely great point, because if you look at how Sark's offense was ran, even now, they still try to sprinkle in the 2016 offense, and you cannot go back to what you did 4 years ago. You did what you did 4 years ago. That's good. 7th highest offense in NFL history. We know what we did in 2016. But the problem is you blew it up after 2016. The minute Shanahan went to San Fran, the minute LaFleur went to the Rams, you didn't sustain your success. So you can't continue to think that you're going to get 2016 success with not the same guys. Same thing for the situation back in 2012. We tried to be the 2012 team 2 years back to back, and it was a disaster. Let's see. I will say this. Let's put all our money together, buy the team. I am okay with that. Where do we start to go? Fund me, cash up, whatever. I'm sure we can do this thing much better than what's going on right now. Julian said, I think Arthur Blank is totally responsible. I definitely don't disagree with that. Arthur Blank, when he first got here, Arthur Blank had sort of a short leash. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to get fans in the stadium. I'm trying to make certain things happen for this, for the organization. And I feel like the more success that we've accomplished on the football field, I feel like the less he has put that will to win into play. Because again, we've done a lot of things like, prime example, the Vic era was one thing. He made a move with that. He had to move on from Vic. But then with Matt, we've been successful according to our standards. Because let's just call a buck for a buck. This is the most successful era in Falcon history, as crazy as it sounds, even with the blown leads and everything going into play. But the Falcons have had talent that you could win Super Bowls. You possibly could have won. You could have won a Super Bowl in 2016. You had a Super Bowl worthy roster in 2012. But the thing is, you cannot continue to beg for success out of that once you don't. The problem I think I've always had with the Falcon organization is after our most successful season, there's never that moment where the Falcons jump up and be like, hey, we made this happen. Now we're going to take a leap and go to the next level with this thing. Let's go get this guy. I remember I talked about it in a previous show where I was saying that the Falcons did not do what other teams do that won Super Bowls. If you think about the 2015 Broncos, they were a high-power offense. They did not have that. They didn't have an elite defense yet. They went and got DeMarcus Ware. The Falcons don't do stuff like that. They don't go get the veterans to help put your team over the top. And that goes back to the point now. You had a Super Bowl worthy squad 3-4 years ago. You didn't do anything to sustain that. And now that those guys are getting older, or certain guys that was productive in 16 can't produce in 20, you don't have a lot in place to make anything happen. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Defense is on point, although shaky, but it's the offensive coordinator. Like I said, we got a winning squad with an opportunity with other players, either practice squad or backups, give them a chance. I will say this right here. The defense has shown improvement, but I do think it needs to be an overall change within the staff. I think it needs to be an overall change. We're not doing enough March and April. We're losing in March and April, and that's the reason why when we come out here and we lose games like this, it becomes a problem. That's where really that comes into play. And I do agree we need an offensive a solid offensive coordinator. We won't have for two seasons, and that was Kyle Shanahan. You said the Atlanta Falcons ruined too many careers. Chris Miller, Chris Chandler, Mike Vick, and Matt Ryan could have had 4 Super Bowl titles. The Falcons coaching staff has always been, or front office has always been a problem. We have had talent, especially over the last, probably, especially in the Arthur Blank owner regime. Since he's been the owner, we've had good squads, but we just haven't done enough with those squads, or we just don't do enough to put us over the top because you can make the argument. Of course, everyone outside of 16 can make the argument 2012 could have been a Super Bowl season. Let's see. Moving along to the next comment. Who do you think the true studs are on defense? Like, let's take our heart out of this. Be straight up in your opinion. Who has a sure job next year? Not including AJ Terrell because he's a rookie. The guys, that's a great question. Great question, Julian. The guys I would say is Brady's going to be back. Deion Jones will be back. Foye should be back next season. I would also bring back, for me, I would bring back Kendall Sheffield. I think Kendall Sheffield's a solid slot corner. I would bring back, I know earlier in the year I was ready to move on from him, but Keanu Neal to me has proven that he should stay on this team long term. Not long, I ain't gonna say long term, at least another year. Because I feel like he's gotten better as the year has went along. And let me think. So what was that? I named Debo, Keanu Neal, Grady, Foye, Kendall Sheffield. That's really it. I might be missing somebody. If I'm missing somebody in the comments, you let me know. But those are the guys who I would currently say. And of course, he said in the comments, we're not going to include AJ Terrell because he's a rookie. He's going to be here in the 5 to 10 years span. We're serious about putting money together to get rid of the taxes. Oh man, y'all are silly. I would love to be able to own this team at this point. If we want a true refill, take away brotherhood and rise up, bring back Dirty Bird, get rid of the $10 plus tax uniform. Bring back the original format and add a kick to it too, man. It's so much that we got to do with this team at this point. That's hilarious though. JD also asked me if we do get a draft pick between 5 to 10, who do you expect to get? That's a good question. Because the Falcons are in that spot where I know everyone's going to say quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. The Falcons have multiple options at that point. You go get you a pass rusher and have you one more solid guy next season to pair up with Dante Fowler because he will be here because of the contract. You can get you a guy on the opposite side, a young rising defensive end. You can get you a guy to pair up with Grady Jarrett. You can get you another linebacker with Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun. You can add to the secondary. You can go get a quarterback. Like those are the things I named off. All of those are considerable options. Another option could be trading back. I'm not opposed to that because the Falcons need a couple of young pieces to really improve from where they were at one point. I think it's a couple of things that could be done with this team at this point. I think the Falcons I really don't think that we're in a situation where a lot of people are safe. I think the guys that we do know, that was a question on defense. I do know that we're going to have Matt, Julio, Ridley, Hurst. Those guys will be here next season. But outside of that, other skilled players is Russell Gage. I think he's still on his rookie deal, so he'll be here next year. But you got places where you got a lot of work to do. Since it said we are in a spot to where we got an opportunity, we can't mess up on this draft class. Is literally make you or break you because we don't have a GM for a say so no more. To be honest with you, we are in the position, and I hate to bring this team up because we all equally hate them. We are in the position of the 2017 New Orleans Saints. The Saints were in the same direction that we are currently in right now. But they ended up killing the 2017 draft, which put them into contention. A good draft can make you a postseason team next year if the coaching staff is right and if the GM is going to bring the right pieces in as well. That is true. This is not a fully bad football team, and I don't want to sit here and say like I'm just saying that we're Jets bad or Bengals bad or Jaguars bad because we're not. But we are in a position where there are key problems on. I would say before anything else, the lines are the biggest problem on this team. More so the defensive line. I will say the offensive line can be improved as well, but you start in your trenches. That's one thing that most postseason teams are very good at. Either having a solid offensive line where you can have an elite rushing attack, elite passing attack. We have an elite passing attack, but we don't have the pieces, if I'm making sense, to bring the best out of those guys. Because to be honest with you, like I've said before, the Falcons have very good pieces in regards to weapons. You could put some of these guys in a Kansas City, New England. I'm sorry, not New England, Tampa, Seattle, Green Bay. You can put some of these pieces in on those teams, and they would easily produce or easily be a part of a successful winning squad. So it definitely has to be. You got to know you got to know your identity. And I think my he's not on here right now. I just want to shout him out. Antonio, he said me earlier. He said something about the Falcons need an identity. And I do agree with that. The Falcons do need a true identity going forward. Let's see. Castro said, y'all need to clean house, including coaches. I totally agree with that. I think that you are in a situation, you're not the worst team in the league, but you're not next season will be in the Super Bowl team either. Because there's so many things that needs to be adjusted, but you got to know where you're going with this. And I'm not saying that if we was to I'm not even saying if we had to do it and we had to change it up, that this would be a long rebuild. You can easily come out and do a couple of things right and be a postseason team in 2021. But if you're not trying to get everything, if you're not trying to get things in place to build for the future, then it's hard. Let's see. Stinson said it's crazy. We get the right people for the team and the right people with the right mindset for the team, but we are missing a key factor, that it factor. We can win, but we can't. Can we be consistent with that? This is also a very intriguing comment that you just made, because I will even go back 3 years ago and talk about the fact that the Falcons were, like I said, we had a potential Super Bowl roster in 16 and 17. But the one thing that eliminated us in the 2017 playoffs was the Eagles had this outstanding defensive line. No, I'm sorry. I would say they had a solid defensive line and a solid offensive line as well. They had two very solid pieces or very solid units that ended up helping them win a Super Bowl that year. The Falcons were a part of. I think the biggest thing is the Falcons got to figure their own style out. We brought Dan Quinn into Baker's kind of Seattle East. That worked for 2015 and 16, but by 17, you are going to catch up with these small guys. We had speed guys, but we didn't have a legit pass rusher. We had speed guys, but we didn't have guys who could make a stop, who, when the game slowed down, can make that big tackle. Because as fast as these guys are, you get to a point where it's like, yeah, they can get they're fast, but you're not sacking the quarterback. They're fast, but you're not making the stops you need to make. You're not making the tackles. You're not making the 3 and outs. You're not holding the team to under 20 points multiple times a season. And that's a problem. We got to have our own identity, and we have never had our own identity. And I don't know if that's a player thing, or if that's a coach thing, or if that's an organizational thing, because it is multiple problems that fall into play with this. It's not. It's bigger than just this roster. It's bigger than just season. It got to be changed. But I want to get on here and talk about the post game. I'm gonna get back, and once we find out what the draft order is gonna be, I'm gonna start talking more about the players, because I mean the college football season has pretty much come to an end. It's bowl season and playoff season, so we're gonna start getting a chance to see the first round change a lot over the next couple of weeks. But the Falcons blow a winnable football game today. Got 2 more games left. I will be so happy when the season is over. So happy. But I appreciate everybody that commented on here that made this thing even more productive than it is. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, this is All In with Nate's post game report from the Falcons and Buccaneers game. Y'all have a good one.